name that might be in consideration. Sunrises really needs to look at budget buys this time around.
Ravi Chandran Ashwin, but you really think he's going to go for a cheap buy? You need a couple of steal buys to be not more than couple, to be honest. In short and crisp, 5 no-brainers. Are you happy with the retentions?
Need to get back all of our old players.
All the core, okay.
Right, we need.
Moving into our next team for the IPL auction 2025 and its strategies is the Orange Army. And I have once again Varun with me. Always when it comes to Sunrise Hyderabad, he is there to represent that franchise. Varun, welcome to the show. You were such a team alongside the others like Mumbai, Chennai. You've got your core sorted, and it was pretty much predictable. But the hefty amount you have given to the players, we'll come and discuss that. But that has ensured that you have a very thin purse moving into the IPL auction, because 45 crores is the only amount you're going with. You need to buy a minimum of 13 more players. First of all, your thoughts when you move into such a mega auction with just an amount. Do you have your bases covered?
So as you said, we have got our core covered, and I think that's what a team wants first and foremost. That's what Mumbai Indians did, that's what Kolkata did, and that's what we did. We might have less purses, but if you got your solid base covered, when you go into the auction, you just look for what slots to fill. Just you need to look at the gaps, and you don't need to look at we need to get this kind of a big name so we can fill this role. He needs to play like this. You just need to fill in those little gaps so the team can just proceed further and succeed.
Absolutely.
Right. And I don't think us having 45 crores is that big of an issue, because we have got our core set, and the teams which have more than 55 crores, I would assume, still have to buy one or more, big players or someone who can fit in their core team, right? And they have to pour a bit of money on them, right? So that can be said maybe in like the marquee set or the set one that comes along, right? So when they spend a lot of money on that, they're gonna come in the same range as us, and they're gonna have maybe the same number of players or maybe one or two more. But at the end of the day, they're still gonna have the same kind of squad strength and the same purse. So I think we're all gonna be competing in the same way in the auction. So personally, I don't feel that there's anything to worry about, and I hope the team feels that as well. I mean, we saw it last year. I think the team was really calm at the table. They're very strategic, first of all, and I think they bid for if they bid for like 10 players, they got 9 of them. So they have their mindset, they have their clear minds, right? We want to get this player, and we're gonna get him. Doesn't matter how much they're going for. If we want them, we're getting him. And if that's the kind of aggressive mindset that the team wants to play with in the auctions, good for them. We're gonna see some success hopefully again.
Absolutely, that's a very good trust that the new owner has received. To be honest, and on all the ends when the team is representing, you talk about the SRH, IPL, etc., etc. But you said about you've got your core covered. You still have that one little chip card. You're moving into the IPL auction. The trump card, the right to match card, is the one you need to look into at the auction table. Has to be an uncapped player. Is it just one name that pops up in the Sunrise Hyderabad at this moment in the squad?
I think in terms for the management and how this player has really improved, he might have not finished too many games, but in the way how he's been batting, Abdul Samad, I think he's the only name that might be in consideration. I'm just thinking of another name like Sanveer Singh. He hasn't played a lot of games, but he's surely proved to be a good player for Punjab as well. He can also give you a few overs with the ball. He's someone like Nitish Kumar Reddy, but just comes down a bit lower in the order as well. I really like him as a player. But Abdul Samad, I don't think his power hitting um, really will affect Sunrise's thinking in why they should really let him go. So I think his career is still going to be staying with Sunrises.
Okay, so you're expecting Abdul Samad to be a right to match card, no matter whoever else is there on the card. So that's your uncapped player. That's your right to match card. Moving into your players that you think will target in the IPL auction by the SRH management. Starting with the top of the order, you have a couple of ruthless openers, both lefties, no bargains, no drainers there, but you have to have a few backups. You need to get a wicket keeper, and that's where you have so many big names, Butler, Salt, etc. But you don't need them because you have a 6 hitting machine in your side. Right. Henrik Klaasen is there. So who could be the alternatives? Are you going with somebody like an Ishan Kishan, Jitesh Sharma, Devon Conway? What are your picks when it comes to the wicket keepers?
So I think when you talk about these big names that are in the auction, like as you said, Joss Butler, or if you talk about KL Rahul, or if you talk about Rishabh Pant, I don't think they're in our budget anyway. They're gonna come in the marquee set, and we just can't afford to pour that much of a money on them, right? So I think if you forget about them, Sunrisers really needs to look at budget buys this time around, right? Even though, as I said, the teams might come to the same kind of equation where they have the same amount of money as us, you still need to maybe save up for day two, because in day two, if I remember, in 2022 there were a lot of good players in day two. So day one, I'm not really expecting to be any buys, maybe a couple or three buys, and that has to be one wicket keeper in it as well. I'm expecting someone like Jitesh Sharma, if if he's
Okay,
available, if he comes a bit cheaper, because he's also an Indian option, right? And the Sunrisers is also looking for a finisher. Abdul Samad, he can do the role, but what if you have a youngster that has already finished some games for
true
Punjab?
that.
He's also played for India, who has the experience, right? So he can be a good name. Another one is Devon Conway. He can be a backup for Travis Head, right? He's a lefty as well. Devon Conway is a lefty, and Conway can also keep, right? So he's a possible backup option. Expecting CSK to use their RTM on him or Rachin Ravindra, but if Devon Conway does come cheap, I don't see why not. Sunrisers can really go for
Similar, another opener at the overseas level which you can buy cheap is Remanullah Gurbaz. Are you even thinking about him?
him. I think Gurpas will just go back to KKR. I think now KKR has the kind of coach and the kind of mentality which says it's like CSK's previous mindset, which says we need to get back all of our old
All the
players.
core. Okay.
Right, we need to get back all our players because they're already set in the team. We already won a trophy with them. They know us. We know them. Let's just get them back and let's just keep improving and let's just keep going on. So I think that's the kind of mindset that they're going to be going with, and I hope that's the kind of mindset the Sunrisers are going with as well. Because after 3 years of absolute failure, this team has come in and has done something special, right? Even really the underrated names, I would say, right? Especially, I'm just talking about Shahbaz Ahmed. Really never expected that kind of a performance
Absolutely.
from him. Just being
Talk
traded
us
from
through that
RCB,
knock
right?
at the Eden Gardens.
Right. It was fantastic. He didn't win us the game. Yeah, he didn't maybe win us a lot of games like the finals or the first game of the season. But if you just look back at the games like versus DC, he can really um, bring a power punch into the lineup. And he can also provide you a few overs like how he did in the qualifier
Yeah,
too against Rajasthan Royals. He's a wicket taker if he gets his line and lengths right. That's the only thing that matters. But, last year's
absolutely.
pitches, they were really, really different. So if
Absolutely,
you forget
that's
about that,
carnage to be honest when
yeah.
it comes to run scoring. But you said about wicket keepers, you need a little bit of look into the number three, number four spot.
Right.
You said that just like Kolkata, just like Chennai, maybe SRH will also look into a core. Number three for last season, it was Rahul Tripathi. Interested of buying him back, maybe, or you have others. You have Iyer, Venkatesh Iyer there. You have Nitish Rana. Good names are there in the market. What are your
Right.
thoughts when it comes to looking into the top order mark?
I think, as I said again, I hope Sunrisers really gets back the old team that they had because of the previous success. And I think Rahul Tripathi, he fills in that number three role very well. I think we've seen at the second half of the season where Rahul Tripathi has come back into the lineup and he just started to perform. Right, we weren't that strong as we were in the first step, but when Rahul Tripathi came back at number three, he has shown some good signs of him coming back as a good power player, like in 2022. Right, even in the qualifier too, he's really stepped up to the game, and I think that's the kind of players we need, right? Big game players or situational players, as they
Yeah,
say. And Rahul Tripathi is that kind of a player, and he doesn't back out, right? He just keeps going from ball one. And with the kind of cricket the Sunrisers are playing, and with the kind of cricket the T20 is emerging into, I think Tripathi is one of those players. And if you think about other names, you said it perfectly, Nitish Rana or Venkatesh Iyer. These three are all ex-KKR players, but they're good names, right? Venkatesh Iyer, he can give you a few overs with the ball. He's a good pacer. And Nitish Rana can give you a few overs with the ball as well. He's a spinner. So if you look at it that way, you get Travis Head who can bowl spin. You got Abhishek Sharma who can bowl spin, and you can get Venki who can bowl pace, Rano who can bowl pace, or just Tripathi who can provide you a lot more on the field as well. So I think any of these three names will be all right for me, but
okay.
hopefully they do come cheap.
Yeah, that's a very, very important thing. Hopefully, they
Right.
do come cheap because of the amount you're going with. You need a couple of steel buys to be not more couple, more than couple to be honest. Into the middle order phase, very rarely you will see Glenn Maxwell, David Miller are all in the auction market. Maybe you look into them rather, alongside Henry Claassen, that your middle order is sorted with some power packed
Right.
power hitters. Or maybe if you go to an Indian core, a very talented one from Mumbai Indians, Nihal Vadera is there in the
Yeah.
list.
I think for us, the middle order is mostly set. We're only looking for that six and seven position right now because you have what Travis said, Abhishek Sharma, and we just talked about the number three. We got Nitish at four, Klassen at five. So you're looking at six, seven, and then eight comes in Pat Cummins, right? So if you're looking at those kind of finisher roles, as I said, they might already use their RTM on Abdul Samad. He might have a place in the lineup or not, but he's already
Mhm.
a sure shot player in the
Yeah.
squad, right? But for 6 or 7, I'm just not looking at pure batsmen, not an overseas batsman. I'm just looking for Indian all-rounders who can provide those good runs for you at the end and can also provide probably 3 to 4 overs in the game as well. So my initial names were like Krunal Pandya and
Yeah.
Shahbaz Ahmed. Right, Shahbaz Ahmed
Krunal
again.
Pandya, Shahbaz Ahmed, two left arm spinners.
Right.
What's the reason where you can bring back your core? You're thinking of somebody like a Washington Sundar as well?
Uh, after seeing him for 3 years, he hasn't really done much for us, and especially on these type of pitches, Hyderabad pitches. And if he tries to bowl this kind of test match lengths like what he did was in New Zealand, that's not going to work out, right? Because the batsmen they're just going to be swinging hard, and in the
That's in the
test games,
slot when it comes to
right?
T20 cricket.
So it's completely different for spinners. Pacers, it might just work out test lengths, but for spinners, it's a bit difficult for Sundar. And I don't know if he's watching this or not. He might not, but I don't want him personally. I just want Shabazz or Krunal or Hasaranga can do the job as well,
I
but
was about to say,
he
why didn't you
might come down
Hasaranga?
at 7. He might come down at 7. He is an overseas guy. He did not show up this year, but I think again he's too good of a player to let go. If you have the chance to get him, if he's in the auction, why would you lose him, right?
So
So maybe
once again, then probably you will have the headed overseas players because you already have three in the
correct.
retention list. If you need still, you can have maximum five more.
Yeah,
And if you're going with Hasaranga, he's another definite starter in
yeah.
your 11. Somebody you did not utilize the last season. He was definitely one of the players to watch out for. Has been flying over the field in different corners of part of the world. Glenn Phillips, thinking of retaining him back, buying him back in the auction table for cheap budget.
We got Glenn Phillips back in 2022, the same time as Markham, the same time as Tripathi and all. And Glenn Phillips, I think he only got 2 or 3 games, right? And there has to be a reason why. Because even when Markram was failing, they still kept giving him a chance instead of Glenn Phillips. Why? Maybe he's not doing good in the net sessions. Maybe he's not just doing good as a player itself in India, in T20 cricket, right? Even for New Zealand, he's not a great white ball player, right? He spun the ball well for New Zealand. He played one good innings in the test games. Um, but in white ball, he really has improved anything in the subcontinent Indian pitches.
Especially his batting against spin you're
Right.
talking about.
Yeah, his batting. And even in 2023, forget about the game against Rajasthan Royals because he has been served a good full tosses and good full deliveries. Right? If you forget about that innings, he has really done nothing for his international side, or he hasn't impressed the team in the 3 years he stayed in the net sessions as well. Right? They've been
Okay.
giving field players more chances than a player that's been sitting on the bench waiting for his chance. And I think that just tells that the team just might not go for Phillips anymore. He's a
Okay, the team is not going for Phillips anymore. If you need a little bit of West Indian power, maybe Sharfin Rutherford, Romario Shepherd are there in the list as your fast bowling all rounders alongside Pat Cummins. Those are very, very powerful hitters.
I think we tried Shepard, right? But I think the problem with Shepard is if you get him, the team might now buy another bowler, and Shepard's bowling is not that high standard,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Yes,
true.
he
Then
can go for a
he's
lot
a.
of
You can
runs.
still say he's a batting all
He's
rounder
a,
more than a bowling on.
but I think the problem with Shepard is if you buy him, you have to give him overs, right? Because when you're overseas players, there's only 4 slots. There's going to be a lot of demand for
So
you to bowl as well because you are a bowler
because
as
your
well,
your two already overseas players are not going to bowl, Travis Head and Henrik Klassen. So you have to
right?
utilize the other two.
Just looking at Shepard's bowling records, I really wouldn't go with him again. Again, I would. Let's talk about this in the bowling sector. But if we're talking about players who can bowl, who can bat at 6 or 7, it has to be Hasaranga for me. There is a Krunal
Okay.
Pandya and Shabazz. Yeah,
Okay, so in the all-rounder section, you're going with Hasaranga, Kunal Pandey, and Shabazz Ahmed. Looking into a little bit of
and
pace
Ashwin
duty.
and Ashwin.
Ravi Chandran Ashwin, but you really, really think he's going to go for a cheap buy?
I think so
You
because
think so?
you have to look at the age and you have to look at the impact that he's made in the recent T20 games as well. I think he's going to be in the same range as Bhuvi, right? In 2022, Bhuvi has went for 4 crores, and I think you might just find Ashwin in the similar range, maybe 4 to 5 crores. I would say. I think teams are looking for other. Um, than senior players because now
True
when
that.
you're coming to a mega auction you're looking for the future. Many auctions you
Absolutely.
get smaller contracts, but when you're going to a mega auction, you trust them a bit more, and
It's
that's why
going to
you're
be a
buying the
big one. It's going to
prestige
be a
auction.
3-year contract.
Right.
Yes, so you're going with Ashwin maybe alongside the other three mentioned players you've already said. Moving into the fast bowlers now, so many options are there. I must tell you, Varun. But if you look into who could fit into the side alongside Pat Cummins, a death specialist, maybe a Nathan Ellis, a similar countryman, he knows so well, very underrated. Natarajan, are you bringing him back into the side? Rabada is there. Mukesh Kumar is there. So many options. Tell me your choices, please.
Sunrisers always has a left arm seamer who can bowl at the death. Okay.
Okay.
And we might not know if Natarajan is going to come back because he does have a lot of demand.
Mhm.
But now the news is that he has fractured his bowling arm.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that might decrease his value in the
Absolutely.
auction. But even if a team buys him, suppose SRH buys him, there's no confirmation whether he might come to play, or if he does come to play, we might not know if he's fully fit and he is the same old Natarajan that he was. So there is a risk factor in that. So Natarajan is always under consideration for me personally, but if you keep him aside, another left armor, I would go with other than Arshdeep. Just let's forget about Arshdeep for now. He's always in every team's targets, right? But other than Arshdeep, Mustafizur Rahman for me.
Mustafizur Rahman is a very good one. Maybe a Trent Bolt, Nandre Berger. Are there in your list as well?
Nandre Berger isn't. I think he's still improving a bit,
Okay.
right? But Trent Bolt, again, a senior player, an experienced player, he's played for us. He can do good both in the power play and the death overs. But when you look at Mustafizur Rahman, his economy in the power play is 6.3 or
Mhm.
6.4. The middle over economy is 7.2 or something. And
Mhm.
then the death overs is, I think, 8 point something. So if you see, they're all very low, right? And Mustafizur Rahman, he can bowl at any phase of the game. He can bowl, he has all these type of variations. And again, he's really underrated.
Absolutely. Very
But
underrated and
yeah,
top class overseas bowler. So he might just suit according to the conditions.
right.
Moving into the spinners department as well. So many options are there. Is a department which you have struggled lately, to be honest. So what are your thoughts when it comes to Noor Ahmed is there, Yuzvendra Chahal, Allah Ghazanfar from Afghanistan is there if you need an overseas. Very promising players. Who's your top target?
Sunrises usually goes with spinners who can also bat, right?
Okay.
If you see the history, I think Sunrises haven't gotten a lot of spinners who can bat. You can say like Adil Rashid or Amit Mishra or
Mhm.
Mujibur Rahman. I think these are the only three names that comes to mind. The rest are like Shabaz, Sundar, right? So these kind of names. But so I already said in the all-rounders list, I mentioned three spinners, right? Shabaz, Ashwin, and Krunal, and Hasaranga. So I think if you forget about that and come to actual, just normal spinners, um, I'm just looking at budget buys at this point. I'm not looking at anything big. So my two names would be R. Sai Kishore and
Okay.
Harpreet Brar.
Harpreet Brar, yes, there you go. It's a very, very handy player with both bat and ball. You're going with our psychic issues. So both left arm spinners might be a thought process behind that. So spinners department is done. More or less, your targets are done and very, very promising because you said about most of the players, Varun, I must tell you, are not going to go for double digit amounts. So you have in your purse, you have these targets, and like you said, Sunrisers will have a busy day in the second day more compared to the first day. Anything is possible. But we now go back to what happened in the retention announcement. Your five players, Henrik Klassen, Pat Cummings, Abhishek Sharma, Travis Head, and Nitish Kumar Reddy were the five players. In short and crisp, five no-brainers. Are you happy with the retentions?
Of course, I'll be happy with it. Before the retention, there was a meeting, and we weren't sure whether we'll be able to retain more than two overseas players. And then Kavya swoops in into the meeting. She says, "I need to. There should be no limit for overseas retentions." And she's the leader. We got it. We retained our three main overseas players, and we got our two main Indian players,
Correct.
emerging players that too.
For the future.
So, for the future, right? Nitesh just won the emerging trophy as well. Abhishek Sharma, he's proved to be a fantastic opener for us this season, especially on Hyderabad pitches, where he's been really, really weak in the previous years. So he's
True
really
that.
improved there. So I'll be lying if I didn't say I'm happy. So
Okay, so you're very happy, seems like, for the retention picks as well. How much are you confident with the 45 crores you have moving into the auction table that you can form a very good squad?
I think with the kind of players that he might have in the mind, because I think now they're playing very, very smart since 2023. Even though 2023 was a pretty bad year, but the kind of names they were buying from 2023 and 2024, it looks like they are going with some smart picks. They're going with budget buys, and they're going with very underrated names who can also perform in any type of conditions you want. So with that in mind, I'm pretty confident that they can do well with the 45 crores. Just like 2022, they're going to be playing their hearts out in day number two in the auctions. So just
Okay.
waiting for that.
Okay, so he says that day number two will be somewhere. Sunrisers Hyderabad will have a busy day, to be honest, in the auction table. Thank you so much, Varun. Thank you to all the viewers for watching this video. The Sunrisers Hyderabad retention strategy is done and dusted for the IPL auction 2025. Sit back and enjoy. We have the auction very, very soon in a couple of weeks' time. Don't forget to subscribe to Fifth Umpire. Press the bell icon as well. Thank you so much, and bye bye.
Go on, Jami.